Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. Merry Christmas. We're in the Christmas spirit. Warren said to me, he said, Alex, where is your Christmas hat? I said, I don't even know if I've got one. And I didn't just have a Christmas hat, I had a Chelsea Christmas hat. Obviously, you've got your Santa Claus hat on as well, Warren. Thomas, what's going on here?
It's like the festive
Wow.
spirit that I can.
He's made an effort. I'd give it a 2 out of 10.
A 2 out of 10.
I mean, to be fair, I am literally Santa Balboa. I am literally like fully donned in my Christmas gear.
I have one.
This is what I'll be wearing for a week now.
I have one of those like really small, super small Santa hats, but that wouldn't really fit.
Where is it?
That's your head.
We were just asking you that.
It's like this. It's like this. It generally wouldn't fit. It would literally be like that.
I'm very disappointed. I'm very, very disappointed. But listen, another day, another show, guys. It might be a bit weird that we're doing an early show. I mean, that's honestly personal circumstances. I wouldn't be able to do it later. So that's why I've done it at this time. But thanks, Warren and Thomas, for being flexible and jumping on. Obviously, we're going to be discussing everything around the Newcastle game yesterday. Don was due to join us on stream, but unfortunately can't make it now. So we'll definitely sort something out with him in the future. But yeah, I mean, let's start off with you, Thomas. I mean, before the game, I don't know how you felt. Me personally, I was pretty confident. I'm pretty sure, Warren, you were the same as me. And I mean, the lineup was good. You know, it was a good looking lineup.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wasn't. Thing is, with Newcastle, no matter how badly they're playing or how well they're playing, they always turn up at St. James's Park. Like for me, you can create an atmosphere there, which is just really intimidating for the players, and especially for our young players. I feel like we just get engulfed in that atmosphere very easily. We just get taken away by it. we just make more rash challenges. Our decision making goes out the window a bit in these sort of environments, like Leeds away, Newcastle away. These grounds, which are tough places to go, we often are just not good enough at staying concentrated and riding that wave. Like I think Charlie was saying yesterday, in the first 15 minutes of the game, these are always going to be tough sort of periods where you just have to see through it. Like you might be on the back foot for the whole first, 15, 20 minutes, but you need to ride that wave and just continue on, and then you'll get your chances, and that's where you have to be clinical. Like in the second half, we had so many chances, so we could have clearly won that game. So before the game, I mean, I was not feeling super confident just because it's a very tough place to go. And we've always struggled there. We haven't won there since 2021. And that was Reece James just pulling off some magic with 2 volleys. So yeah, I wasn't the most confident, but I was like, okay, getting a draw out of that game beforehand, that's a good result. Getting a win is a very good result. But like looking at the circumstances, a draw there was a good result. But yeah, we still could have gone on and won the game. It's just that first 45 minutes where we just need to learn to deal with these intense atmospheres and just these places where they're just going to put the pressure on you from the minute go.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like it's soaking up that pressure, riding that wave, as you said. Just a quick big up to everyone who's watching as well, guys. I'm sorry if there's any confusion. That's why we ended the stream earlier, because there was 2 streams going on at the same time. So I deleted one of them and I happened to delete the wrong one. So that's why we started again. So apologies for any confusion. Big up to Pierre as well. Big up to Mahiz as well. He says a draw is a deserved result considering we shared the halves. Big up to Woodshedder as well. We've got mixed feelings on the game, but I'll take a draw and run. Listen, you know what it is? It's all about being in the Christmas spirit, isn't it, Warren? And maybe we're just really generous and we're saying, you know what? We need the points, but Newcastle, you're struggling as well. There you go. Merry Christmas. Have a point.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's one of those things, right? So there's 2 ways of looking at it. I always try and be positive. I'm kind of the same as you two guys at the minute. I feel like it was a well-earned point. I think that ultimately we should take the positives from it. We should accept that Newcastle came out and battered us for the first 35 minutes, and we sort of controlled the game a lot more in the second half. I think Enzo coming on, I was watching, I can't remember if I read or sort of saw a bit of a podcast or a stream on another channel or something last night, that somebody said that I don't understand Enzo's cameo role, don't understand him coming on and kind of doing nothing and what he did. So where I was at the game obviously yesterday, and where I was very central. Obviously we know where we're sat up the top, but I was very central, so I had quite a good overview of the game to analyze it from a certain point of view. I understand that it's different from pitch level and you can appreciate different things there, but from where I was, I could appreciate certain things. And for the first half an hour, it was so easy for Newcastle to play one straight ball 15 yards into the feet of a Watameda or a Tonali or Bruno if they had got into a more advanced. Yeah, or Gordon coming in from the flanks especially, and just getting between the passing lines and creating us loads of problems. Fernandes coming on in the second half negated that. I think I mentioned in the interview with you after the game, Alex, that I think that Fernandes made a real difference coming on in there. I think that it was just a better balance. I think Maresca made the right changes. I think tactically he changed it up to what it needed to be. It didn't need a massive change, and I think he recognised that. I also think that he must have put a firework up the players' arse at half time, so I think that he deserves a lot of praise for that as well. I think the players should have responded on their own, and I'm sure that part of them would have been embarrassed enough from that first half performance that they felt.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, though. Why are they not bringing that intensity from the start? Why does it need Maresca to tell them, like, lads, what you're doing is unacceptable? They should know that from the start, that the intensity that they have to bring it. Same at Leeds away. We shouldn't need them to score 2 goals for us to start revving up our football.
Absolutely
to start
agree.
waking up. That's where we just lack a bit of that, maybe experience a bit of that nous.
I absolutely agree. But if you look at teams that start well with high intensity, when you look at like Newcastle yesterday and you talk about Man City when they're playing really well, and Arsenal when they're playing really well, and Liverpool last season and in previous seasons and stuff, I genuinely believe that part of it is down to the over-rotation of the team sometimes. Sometimes there's not a complete rhythm. I think that we started our team that was probably our best available team yesterday, minus maybe minus Enzo. I can see why he wanted Gusto's pace to cover Gordon, and I can see why he wanted James in that quarterback role to sort of dictate the play, but we didn't get opportunity to do that, so Maresca changed it. But you're right. I mean, it is up to the players as much as it's up to the management as well to start the game as we started the second half yesterday. And you're absolutely right. And there's no excuse for it. Maybe there's a reason. I mean, I'm not a professional footballer and I'm not a professional coach. The truth is, it's conjecture, isn't it? I'm speculating what I believe it could be, but I think that sometimes the over rotation can play a role in that.
Also, is it a lack of motivation as well for these games? Because if it was, though, I'd be surprised that when you go to Newcastle away, it's weird. You should be having more motivation to want to prove yourself against these bigger teams in these tough away grounds. Not many people have won at St James's Park this season, but Arsenal and I think Liverpool it was. So we should want to prove a point. Same with Leeds away. We should want to prove the doubters that, okay, at Leeds away, we know that these sort of grounds we're going to struggle at. We should want to prove the doubters wrong. So why is there that lack of intensity? Why is there that lack of motivation for these sort of games?
I was going to say, I guess that is the golden question, right? I mean, why? I mean, that there could be obviously a plethora of reasons. Maybe it is to do with the rotation. Maybe some of it, as the manager seems to be suggesting quite a lot, and all of the pundits that really that obviously know more than me seem to suggest as well that it needs a bit of experience inside. It's interesting, and I'm not saying that I necessarily wanted this to happen, but it was interesting that I saw that Thiago Silva, West Ham were caught in Thiago Silva, and now it looks like maybe he's going to like a Roma or someone
I think he's going to Porto or something.
Is it Porto? Is it? Oh, right. Okay, so it has been confirmed now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now, Thiago Silva, and again, I'm not necessarily saying we should have gone out and got him for half a season, right? But the experience that he has, the know-how that he has, the winning mentality that he has, the things that people like Chalobah and even an injured Colwell could learn from Thiago Silva, I think would be like indispensable. So, and again, I'm not saying that he's the answer to he's not the solution to our problems, right? And I don't think that he necessarily on his own comes in and lifts the intensity of the whole team immediately. But I do think that Maresca's been calling out for experience, and I think that this team needs a bit of experience.
And that's why you need like an experienced head to look at the situation and bring everyone together and say, guys, like switch on now. There's not really a person where you turn to, bar maybe Reece James, who's like, he's a very good captain, I think that, but I don't think he's a John
He
Terry.
He leads by example. He's not a great captain.
Exactly. I just don't think.
No disrespect.
I think he's right. Like he's the right person to be a captain because, like, bar that we generally don't really have that many experience heads, bar Tosin and Sanchez. So
I was going to say Sanchez. Do you know what I liked? Sorry to cut you in there, Tommy. Do you know what I liked about Sanchez yesterday? Right, and I have been one of Sanchez's biggest critics. I think that he was incredibly indecisive, and he had like a distinct lack of confidence. Which, if you put those two together in a goalkeeper, sometimes they never ever refine their form, right? But especially after the second goal yesterday, and many moments during the match that I noticed, he was going divvy at the defenders. After that second goal, he came out and he had his arms open, and he literally must have been asking, guys, what the bloody hell? Probably a bit worse than that, but what the bloody hell are you doing? What are you doing there? Why aren't you over there? Why didn't you? And it happened many times. It happened many times from corners and balls over the top and balls. And he was shouting and he was barking orders. Now that's a leader on the pitch by his presence. Reece James leads by example, right? And it's a fantastic example. He's an academy player. He's one of our own, and he's a brilliant club captain. I think he's a fantastic representative of the club as a whole.
Like Harry Kane when he was at Tottenham.
Yeah. It's just he leads by example. He's not going to be there, like you said to me. He's not going to be there saying boom, boom, boom. And we do seem to lack that a little bit. But Sanchez, I think, is slowly becoming that person at the back. And you know, he wasn't really at fault for anything yesterday. I said in my interview with you, Alex, after the game, that I think that Maresca told Sanchez, when you're being put under a lot of pressure, look for Maresca against Hall, and Hall dealt with Neto like extremely well, especially with them long balls. So that wasn't Sanchez's fault. And it was, let's not forget, it was Sanchez's vision and accuracy to play the ball that Joao Pedro asked for at half time that led to the second goal.
Yeah,
I mean, it's funny because after the game, I basically said, because I did the first fan cam myself, and I said I would have given man of the match to Robert Sanchez. Now, to be fair, looking back, I can understand why people say Reece James, but I'd still stand by the point that Robert Sanchez was just as important in that result. Saved us multiple times. Even in the goals we conceded, like Sanchez, I mean, the first goal, Sanchez made a good save.
He did. Something that will forever be forgotten because the rebound went in, but he did. He made it very, very Schmeichel-esque.
And then on top of that, you know, like people talk about his distribution wasn't good. Hang on a second. The guy got an assist for the second goal. What are you talking about? And this is the sort of proactive nature of what Sanchez does, which was really frustrating actually at times. And we complained about it, especially when he first come in. Why are you releasing the ball so quickly? Why are you putting our own players under pressure by giving them the ball early, hoping that they'll counter-attack and make something happen, when actually what ends up happening is the other team presses or whatever it is, they win the ball back, and then we end up conceding a big chance or even a goal. But now what we're seeing is Sanchez able to sort of find that middle ground, and I think that's brilliant. I mean, there was one moment in the first half where I think he gave it to Neto or something like that, and we got rid of it. But I didn't even look at Sanchez and think that was his fault. I thought, no, you know what, we just shouldn't have lost the ball. Whereas in seasons gone by, and don't get me wrong, this has definitely happened at times this season, but I mean, if I'm comparing it to previous years, like, he's improved tenfold. So for me, I don't think it was you, Warren. Somebody else asked me, they said, do you think you can win a league title with Sanchez? And I think that's a bit of a, obviously I don't think that Sanchez is going to win a league title with us. Not the way, if I had to compare what we've had with Sanchez and what I think we can do with him, then you've got to go, well, he's definitely going to have a couple of mistakes in him during the season, but he's going to have some great games as well. Now, if he continues playing the way he's playing, he is no doubt good enough for Champions League. He's a Champions League level goalkeeper. He's a goalkeeper that we can get European football with. But you eradicate those mistakes and you have a top keeper. And this is coming from someone last season who was, I was so against Sanchez. I wanted Jorgensen to start. And then Jorgensen comes in and was pretty bang average, wasn't he? So then you go, well, do you want a goalkeeper who's just not that great, doesn't do anything special and doesn't do anything great either? Or do you want someone who's going to give you some fantastic moments and some really downward moments as well? It's like a toxic relationship, isn't it? And I think that Sanchez, to be fair to him, and this is credit to Maresca, has brought an element of stability as well. Now I know that if we have a chance and he's the last man, I actually think to myself, you know what, Robert might have a chance at this. And long shots, which we really struggled with under Kepa, is one of Sanchez's biggest strengths. He's very good at dealing with long shots, very good at claiming crosses as well.
He makes himself big very well as well.
Do you know what I think the biggest difference is with Sanchez from now, even if you said from May until now, so even if you just talk about a 6 or 7 month period, it's just his decision making. He was so intent on being, the next Edison that he would play the wrong pass. I mean,
at the wrong time.
Yeah, he would play the wrong pass at the wrong time. Sometimes when you're 1-0 up 3 minutes before half time and a team's putting you under pressure, you just need to get rid of the ball sometimes. And there needs to be that option there. And I think that that's something that Maresca's worked on really well. I said it a few times early on that he played a few long balls up to Joao Pedro, and I was calling it in the air. I said, there's nobody near him. And Joao Pedro won the header, and there's not a Chelsea player in sight to get the second ball, right? That kind of like change, you can see where Maresca's been working on that. But it's just his decision making. He's not afraid to go long now. And also, because we know that we can't just play the ball out all of the time. We need that long option. And I think Maresca's identified that, and I think he's done something about it. I think that was a problem under Poch. I think that when Sanchez played the ball long, it was like, right, well, let's see what happens with this. Whereas now he's looking at a certain angle of a pass for a certain reason, and the Chelsea players obviously recognise what he's doing, and they will respond in kind to that and get into the areas that they need to be in. So I think it's his decision making, and I also think it's just playing with the same players like for a longer period of time, understanding each other. And also he's young for a goalkeeper. When Timo Courtois was considered the best goalkeeper in the world, would he have been about maybe sort of Sanchez's age now? Maybe so Sanchez is only really sort of like starting to enter his peak as a goalkeeper. Alex, what you said about can you win a league with Sanchez? My answer is still no. It's nowhere near as emphatic as it used to be. I
think if you surround him with quality, if you have like a top striker, some top wingers, and then we keep our midfield depth and maybe a good centre-back as well, I think you're very capable of winning a league with him, just because look at the quality of the league right now. Like you string a game of a run of like 4 games in a row and you can literally go first. Look at City. Like they were terrible at the start of the season, and now they've won like, I don't know, maybe 4 games in a row. They're just doing really well, and now they're first. Or Arsenal first, and they were first yesterday.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think also back on the Sanchez point as well, it's another case of like, give it a bit of time and they become good. It's a bit like Cucurella. Like we're all slating him like for the first season, rightly so, because he just wasn't good. But then you give him another season, he starts to perform, and that's where I feel like the club can maybe learn from like keeping a bit of continuity. Because look at Sanchez, we've had him, I think this is his 3rd or 4th season. We've kept him, and look, he's improved drastically, and everyone wanted him out straight away. I think it's hard to know when players will go on to do much better and improve, like a Cucurella or a Sanchez. But there are times where you just need to stick with what you have, because it ends up working at times, like with Sanchez and Cucurella. So that's why I'm really happy that he's gone on to prove everyone wrong, and he's improving in all departments of his game. And I think let's hope he continues to do that, because right now he's got the same amount of clean sheets as Raya, or maybe 1 less now because Arsenal kept a clean sheet yesterday. But he's performing very well, and I think.
And who did everyone? What player does everyone want to sign? A centre back.
I would have said. Sorry, centre back.
Yeah, but this is
I would
this is
say
the ironic
striker.
thing, isn't it? We're getting a lot of clean sheets,
Yeah.
and everyone's complaining that we need a centre back,
I
myself
agree.
included, by the way.
If you have Colwill, and if Colwill's fit, I don't think you need a centre back. But with Colwill out, I think that really puts a hole in our defence, because on that left side, your only like left-footed option there is Badia Shield, who's good, but he's just not up to the required standard. So I think when you have Colwill and Fofana, that's a very good partnership who can develop and become very, very good. And obviously you have that Chalobah sort of, he can play with Colwill as well, and I think they're very capable of doing well. And then our fullbacks are one of the best in the leagues, both of them. So for me, it's up front where you need to strengthen, or on the wide areas. Like if we brought in like a Semenyo or something, or an Osimhen up front, then that changes the whole picture. For me, it's up front or on the wingers for sure.
I think it seems like that at the minute. I think that there's maybe a balance to it. I think that it's, and I think it comes back to kind of things that we've touched upon before. I think it's all quite neatly connected. That Maresca kind of has the numbers at the back. You know, he has a Champong and other people to like come in at the back, but he wants an experienced option to be able to come in. And I think that there's certain games and there's certain times in games and certain situations where Maresca looks over at his bench, and it's not that he hasn't got an option there; he hasn't got the option that he wants. And
yeah, the quality. It's like
I
yesterday.
take your point about wide players, by the way. I still think that there's a player in Garnacho. I would like to persist with him for a little bit.
No, 100%, 100%.
Gittins needs to improve a lot. I think there's a good player in there. I think that you know, Gittins could have maybe done with staying at Borussia Dortmund for a year and getting another 40 games playing out there. I think that he's a little bit slower in his development. And then like Santos coming on yesterday did nothing wrong, but I still feel like he's 2 or 3 years away from being the player that we needed.
But that's the thing as well. Maresca looks at his bench, and I even saw it before the game, and your only attacking options off the bench are Guiu and Buonanotte. And Buonanotte, we signed on loan, who we're not even going to keep. And Guiu was meant to be at Sunderland. And those are your 2 options that you can bring on attacking-wise. Like, for me, I look at that and I'm saying that's a massive lack of quality there.
Well, you know, it's interesting as well, because I went on TalkSport to speak about this Maresca and Guardiola link. And
where's that name
sorry?
drop? I'm just doing a name drop. That was all.
What, TalkSport?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
I know. Well done. I'm jealous.
You'll be on there soon, Warren. You'll be on there
I'm
soon.
green. No, they won't have someone like me on TalkSport, believe me.
With that hat, Warren, I promise you they will. But no, I mean, I was saying that I think that Guardiola would struggle to do what Maresca's doing. I think Guardiola would. I think if you swap them over, I'm not saying Maresca couldn't be successful at City. I don't know, but I think that what he has done has been underappreciated. And I see in the comments, you know, people talking about the standards. Maresca's not elite. Well, to prove you are elite, you need elite players.
Exactly.
So
he's not being dealt
by not having a squad that is elite and still being able to win 2 trophies in your first season and get Champions League football. Does that not tell you that we overachieved? I mean, you're contradicting yourself otherwise.
100%.
And then
that's
when we talk about the quality of the players that we have as well, I mean, the players are good enough to at least do that, right? I mean, they may have overachieved, but they still did it. So there has to be an element of realism here. There's got to be a standard as well. But there also has to be, ultimately, I say the same thing. Are we improving? And I saw another comment saying, we got a point, which is better than last season. It's also better than the year before. It's also better than the year before that.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
cup games in between.
Basically, people confuse me because they go, "Oh, well, we didn't win." So, would you have rather we lost? I mean, because you're still finding a reason to complain. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can break things down. Nothing wrong with that. But to come out here and say that, it's pathetic, it's a disgrace.
I do find an air of negativity surrounding a lot of I'm going to say it for the most part, and this is, just a generalization of what I've witnessed on social media over the years. It's by no means anyone specific or a specific group of people or anything like that. But I do find Chelsea fans to be quite negative when it comes to the armchair fans on social media, right? The ones who listen to Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville and think that everything that they say is like the sun shines out of their arse, and they've really got no real clue about what it means to actually be a Chelsea fan. I find that the ones that are quite negative about the point are those people. But then on the flip side of it, you've got the people that are saying, okay, it's a good point because it's a good performance because of where we was at. But to say that it's a good point is like a slightly smaller club mentality, because if for example, if a Man City down the years would have gone to Newcastle yesterday and gone 2-0 down, there would have been a lot of times they won the league where they would have won that game 3-2. Right. I guess that's kind of the point that some people, there's kind of like two sides to the whole, is it a good point, isn't it? I believe it's a very good point because it's a good performance. And I think that's at the moment, it's like what you're saying there, Alex, about improving, right? It is an improvement on where we were. It is an improvement on the last time we went 2-0 down. That's only like the fourth time that we've ever been 2-0 down at half time and got a point in a Premier League game. So historically, we're terrible at being 2-0 down and getting results out of games in the Premier League. So that's a change of mentality. That's a positive thing. And then for the last 4 or 5, 6 seasons, we would have lost that game 4-5-0. Something like, you know what I mean?
What's your take on Maresca, Thomas? What's your take on him? Because obviously, I've been converted. I am a fan, and I'll stop being a fan when I think that we're regressing. But I really don't see that happening at the moment. I think that we're going in a better direction. And I know people are saying we regressed since Abramovich came in. It's like, duh, obviously. But now we're trying to build ourselves back up. So that's the point. It's not that we're what we were under Tuchel.
I think he's a very capable manager. But like we were saying just before, if you don't give him what he asked for, you're going to get the same results with every single manager that you bring in. It's like when people say sack Maresca or change the manager or whatever, you're going to get the same results if Clearlake and the sporting directors don't choose to change the model. The same thing is going to happen over and over again. We've seen it with Poch and Maresca under Clearlake. Whenever they ask for something or demand for something, they both they don't get kicked out, but it's almost as if they have no say in what's going on. And so for me, that's where Maresca has to be backed, because I think he's a very good manager, and I think they've done well, the sporting directors, to get a good manager in Maresca in, because he's shown that in the bigger games he's tactically astute. He can handle the bigger teams. He can handle tactics at the highest level. But yeah, when you see him slip up in these smaller matches, half of it's down to the players, and then half of it is down to just a lack of quality when we rotate and just options. Like I was saying to you 5 minutes ago, we look on the bench for our attacking options. We got Guiu and Buonanotte to bring off the bench. Then when I look at City, they've got Reinders in the 10. They've got Reinders, Foden, Cherki, Bernardo Silva, Savinho, Marmoush, all these options. And then we've just got Palmer in that sort of role, and then we don't have anyone there. So it's almost like he's not been blessed with the best options, and yet he's still overachieved, like we were saying last season, winning 2 trophies. So I think I've been really impressed with how he's kept his composure as well under all the media pressure as well, because a lot of the time he's been doubted. A lot of the time fans have been very quick to jump on him, and then he performed some very good performances against the likes of Barcelona, Arsenal. Those were very good performances. But for me, the games where we draw to a Bournemouth away, we lose to Leeds, these sort of games, for me, it's not really down to the manager. It's just down to lack of quality. 100% at times, the football's not been the most exciting. And we've been saying that, we'd like to play a bit more progressive football. Against Cardiff away, the first half was not an easy watch. But I just think that when people say he's tactically not good, or I do agree, there are times in the match where his in-game management can be quicker. He can make subs earlier, or he can be a bit more proactive with his decision making. I 100% agree with that, and he's still a young manager, so he's still got time to develop and time to to iron out those small mistakes. But I think if you give him the right tools that he's been asked for, I think he can win leagues with us and win many trophies with us. So yeah, I really like him, and I just hope that this, I wouldn't say tension, but this like brewing sort of, like problems right now, I hope it just doesn't end in him not being there next season.
Can I just say a very good point, perfectly made. I just couldn't agree more with everything you said, and that's absolutely spot on.
Do you lot think that he'll be here next season though?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he will. Do you know what it is, right? It's like a relationship. You've got to look at it and you've got to say, well, not everything's great, but they're more good than bad. And I think that when you are a club in a situation like we were under Abramovich, it's different. And this is why I appreciate people who love what we were. I appreciate that. I'm with you. I loved it. I lived it. I was following Chelsea under Abramovich. I loved
what we were before that. I loved what we were before that as well when I was there, like for that as well. So I'm just agreeing with you, Alex. I appreciate that people love that era, but it's just not the same no more.
Well, it's a different era. It's a different way of running a football club, and that's not to say that this way is better. I think we all loved what Abramovich was able to do. I will say this in not in defense, because I don't believe that any football club should be owned by private equity. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's good for football to be owned by companies.
Yeah, I'm not against them. I'm not against them personally. I'm against the idea of private equity.
Well, private equity goes into things for one reason. That's to make money, right? At least with individuals, you can presume that there is a little bit of passion involved, right? Yeah. And I would say that as much as people don't like Bowley, he is passionate about sports.
Yeah.
And he's involved with lots of different sports teams, and he's been successful with a lot of sports teams. I can't say the same for Clear Lake, but I mean, just to stick on the subject of Maresca, because I do think this is a good subject to just talk about briefly. Interesting comment by Harry says, I'd argue Maresca has shown very little composure, in all honesty. So, I mean, I guess I'd ask you to sort of elaborate on that a little bit as well. Let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree with Harry. Arkel, not a fan of Maresca either. Although I'd then ask the question: did you watch the second half?
Well, yeah.
So I mean, if you watch the first half, fair enough.
The fact that people say backwards, sideways, slow, predictable football. For me, when you're playing against teams who they know that are worse than us, they're always going to sit back. It's not like you're going to get an end-to-end game against like a Leeds or against the Cardiff. You know that those teams are going to sit back. So it's on us. It's on our impetus to sort of, we have to have the impetus to break those teams down. You're always going to get slower football when you're playing against these lesser sides. Obviously, when you're playing like an Arsenal or a Liverpool or City, that's where the match is going to open up. But when you're playing against teams like a Brentford as well, for example, they're always going to sit back because we know that we're not great against those sort of teams. And yet people are saying, oh, it's slow ball. Like, yeah, I agree at times. Like the ball can be moved a bit faster. But when you're playing against these teams who sit back, you know that this is the sort of football that's going to happen. And you're just going to have to break teams down. That's what City have done the best over the past 5 years. Everyone sits back against them, and their ability to break down teams is just second to none. And that's why they did so well in the league.
Can I just say, with the Maresca ball thing as well, so like I know, like, so a member of my cousin's husband is a Man City fan, and he is the most blinded Man City, Pep Guardiola, nothing else in the world matters, nothing ever has ever been close to them, the whole world's against them, all of the referees and FIFA and UEFA, like everything is, FFP was set up only to do over Man City, even though they're the only ones that have ever benefited from it and everybody else has been done for it. Blah, blah, blah. And he said to me yesterday that watching the Newcastle-Chelsea game yesterday, which was end-to-end, was the most exciting football match that he's watched for years. And I said, yeah, because it involved very little pep ball. it involved. I mean, yeah, the game went side to side. I know that it still does that to a large extent, but yesterday was high intensity from Newcastle in the first half, high intensity from Chelsea in the second half, and it was end to end. It was a really, really entertaining game of football, and for a neutral, that was one of the best games of the season. I know you got United, Bournemouth, and you got Bournemouth, Liverpool, and you've got some other great games in there. But yesterday, the spectacle was brilliant, and there was quality all over the pitch. There was quality from Newcastle. There was quality from Chelsea all over the pitch all day yesterday. It was a fantastic advert for Premier League football yesterday. And I completely disagree with the comment about the boring, slow, predictable football in yesterday's game. For the most part, we know that I prefer a little bit more expansive.
Also, there's a point I wanted to make as well. Like recently, a lot of our goals that we've been scoring, it's been very like counter-attacking football. Like obviously Maresca much prefers to control the game and sort of break down opponents. But if you look at our goals that we've scored, Neto against Everton, Gusto against Everton, that was a counter. Pedro against yesterday was a counter, and then Reece James free kick. A lot of our goals have been counters or set pieces. Like we haven't had many goals where we've been controlling the game and then we just finish off a nice move. So that's where like it's not criticism for Maresca, but I'm just saying like, do you think his style has been implemented of that like possession-based football and then we score? Like even Garnacho's goal against Cardiff, counter as well. Like both of them actually were counters.
I think he's showing that we can do what we need to do in the moment. If the game calls for controlling the game, and I think that's sometimes we lacked. That's where we lack. Like against Carrier Bag away, and like they are called Carrier Bag. That's what I'm never going to call them anything different. It's like reading. No, I do think that we're like sometimes with the possession game, even we try to do the right thing, even if it doesn't go wrong. Sometimes it's right to control the game and be a bit slower paced and slow the game down. I think we try to do that, and sometimes it doesn't work. But then sometimes it requires us to be a bit more defensive and play on the counter attack and change our tactics up a little bit. And I think that's actually one of the positives. I think that we will try something a little bit different. I think we have our game plan, and if it's not working, we'll change it, and Maresca will change it, and the players are taking responsibility for changing it as well. And I think that's what Alex was saying. It's progression. It's better than it was a year ago.
Yeah, I was actually sat with some Newcastle fans. I was in like a mixed area. Basically, I got invited by a friend to go and sit.
I thought you was on the champagne watching the rugby. I must have got confused.
Well, it wasn't like, because basically the only reason I accepted it was because it was right next to the away fans. So I was like, I'm not that far away.
Who were excellent all day.
I'll be honest, Warren. We were rubbish in the first half, mate. But in the second half, we were great.
The fans,
yeah.
I see. No, I don't know.
The away support's not been the best this season, to be fair.
But the second half was quality.
I don't know. I felt like there was a few moments when. There was a few moments when we was 2-0 down and we would maybe give the ball away, or the referee would make a bad decision, or something would go against us. And naturally there was a few groans, as you would, from everyone. But then that was kind of like followed by a song, that was followed by a chant. And I quite appreciated that, like from the Chelsea fans. I thought that was quite good. And then, like you said, you expect it to be excellent in the second half because we scored 2 goals. We came from 2-0 down. So that's not really like an achievement from the fans, so to speak.
Yeah.
But honestly, I thought it was, it got a little bit livelier on the concourse before kickoff than it normally does. Usually concourses are quieter on an earlier kickoff. For obvious reasons, people haven't had as much time to drink. They've travelled up and stuff and whatever else. But no, I thought the fans were excellent. I did.
Fair enough.
But
let's speak more about the players, boys, because otherwise we're going to run out of time. So let's talk about the front line, because we always sort of work our way up from defence upwards. Let's start with the front line then. Let's look at Palmer. Let's talk about him, because a lot of people were pretty confident going into this game, myself included, because Palmer was going to be quote unquote basically fully fit, and I thought he was really, really poor. I'm not even going to lie to you. I haven't seen Palmer that flat in any game. I think that's arguably the worst performance that he's ever had in a Chelsea shirt.
But when the standard is so high, usually that's the thing. He did. I said this to you yesterday, that there was 4 or 5 times in the first half that the ball was played into him, maybe like, a pass between the lines and, an opportunity had opened up. He had a bit of space in front of him and a decent touch out of his feet. And then he's got options, but he took poor touches and allowed people to get in and around him. He just didn't look sharp at all yesterday. I think you've analysed it perfectly there. I just think he was really flat. And yeah, I just think he needs 3 or 4 games to get back up to that level. And I just think yesterday was a solid. What did he go after about 70 minutes, 65, 70 minutes? Did he
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Are we pushing him too early? I mean, because we're getting all these signs, and then we get a performance like that. Is that a fitness issue, or is that just
the sharpness?
You just need to play better.
It's a tough game to show up in as well. Like, it's not an easy game. Like, you're playing against Newcastle away. Also, I think not having Enzo as well there. Like, sometimes he plays better when there's Enzo in the 8, him in the 10, then you got the wingers. Like, I feel like he was not isolated, but often in that sort of central role. Newcastle's pressing was very good. So whenever he got the ball, they were just all over him. But bar that, like, I just think it's a tough game to show your quality in. Even like a lot of players who are very good, who've come to St. James's Park, they just struggle to perform there because it's just it's an intense atmosphere. Palmer, maybe he's not fully up to like his full fitness. Like, I think sometimes there's moments where there's a lack of like, not IQ, but he just needs to get his football understanding back as well. But yeah, no, it's a tough game to come back into, and yeah, it's we just need to ease him in from now.
It's a confidence thing as well, right? When you've had muscle injuries and he's young, and he hasn't necessarily had like extended periods on the sidelines and long periods of rehabilitation, and this is all new for him. And I'm sure it's a bit of a mental struggle as well. So I've got no issue with Palmer playing poorly yesterday. He did play poorly, don't get me wrong, but I have no issue with it. I think that it's a match sharpness thing. It's a little bit of a confidence thing, and I have no doubt of how important he's going to be for us for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
And then obviously we look at the striker. I'm going to go with Joao Pedro, who I've been criticising, rightly so actually. And I mean, I'm not been the only one to criticise him, but maybe to be honest with you, I'm going to stand by my point of he's the Brazilian Kai Havertz until I see a consistent season. If he gives me a consistent season, I hold my hands up. But I mean, Kai Havertz scored some good goals, but he didn't score many. And that's
he needs to hold up for a couple of seasons for me. I think that we can
even one good season of scoring goals, you've already basically beaten Kai Havertz's tally.
Yeah, right.
So I mean that's all I'm looking for.
Champions League winning goal.
But it doesn't matter because ultimately over the course of a Premier League season, Havertz is just poor. So if Joao Pedro can give me that, then that's something. But when we look at the goal he scored, and then we can talk about his performance as a whole. I mean, it stems from that great pass from Robert Sanchez, and I honestly he
intended that
say enough how. Oh, mate, it was unbelievable.
He intended that flick. It was insane.
Honestly, it was amazing. So Sanchez gets the ball, hoofs it up. He's proactive. A lot of people don't like it. And then Joao Pedro takes a lovely little touch with his head. And the Newcastle defender slips. And it was like Gerrard 2.0.
To be fair, Pedro does like use his body well there in that situation.
Yeah, he does, man.
The touch that he takes with his knee to keep the ball perfectly in his path with full momentum. He was able, with the touch with his knee, that meant he was able to sprint on the ball, cut across the defender so that nobody could get near him.
If you take a touch wrong there, then you're not through on goal.
Absolutely. Clinical finish.
Yeah.
I think that if there's one moment where I think, there's 2 games actually I've looked at Joao Pedro and thought, you know what, I may not like you as a player in terms of your profile, and I still can't say I'm the biggest fan of Joao Pedro, and I wasn't a big fan of the signing. I don't think he's worth 60 mil. That's the God honest truth. But that can change. But I do see, and I've seen more games where his attitude's been fantastic than his attitude at Bournemouth. And I just feel like he does have whatever that is, he has that spirit. I felt like that at Man United away in Old Trafford. I felt like, this is a guy who's giving 110%, who's leading the line the way it needs to be led. I look at strikers we've had in the past. I look at Werner. I look at Havertz. I look at Higuain. I look at Morata.
Lukaku.
I wouldn't say the same about Giroud. I think Giroud's
Drew was
I
excellent.
give Drew a lot of
Or
credit.
Abraham. I think Abraham was
Even
was
Tammy.
decent.
Tammy was not able to lead the line. He could get bullied quite easily, and to be honest with you, would go missing. He wasn't good at link up. He wasn't good at holding up
Very
the
young.
ball.
He was
what I
very
would.
young.
He's what
It's
I.
crazy when you list those strikers. Basically, only one of them was like an out and out number 9. Like, we've not actually signed a proven goal scorer in like so long. The days where I just wish we signed like an Osimhen or something. Yeah, I just think it would transform us.
I mean, this is the thing though. So when I look at that goal, I thought, you know what, fair play, Joao Pedro. You are doing what needs to be done, and it's not just doing it in any game. It's doing it in December. It's doing it in January. It's doing it in February. Those are the difficult months, and any player that's able to step up over that course of the season, and we had a good start. You know, then you have a blip. If you're able to bring it back, then it shows at least he's got a bit of character and self-belief. You know, there's one thing coming to Chelsea and going, yeah, I believe I can get a paycheck. There's another thing going, I believe I can actually be a top player for the club. So I've got to give credit to Joao Pedro. It was a fucking great goal, man. It was a great goal.
It was a good goal. It was a very good goal.
Do you boys have anything on the performance as a whole from Joao Pedro?
Well, I mean, I suppose ultimately, the thing is, he was anonymous in the first half. It wasn't necessarily his fault. And I think that that's something that when I've analysed his games in the past, I've been very similar to you, Alex. I was quite surprised at the signing. I was surprised at the amount of money that we spent on him. I was surprised that we bought him when there was other options. That I guess that was the point. I guess there was a lot of other options that.
But he was meant to be like that versatile forward. Like, use him in the 10, use him in the 9.
The idea
was able to play on the wing as well.
But come inside, something like that.
But I suppose that the idea is that Delap was going to be there, Palmer was going to be there, this person was going to be there, that person was going to be there, and because of a combination of injuries and red and yellow cards, and I guess that's kind of what our friend in the comments was alluding to earlier when he was talking about Maresca's composure and stuff, and he was talking about the amount of yellow and red cards. I think that is a fair point when it comes to keeping your cool and keeping your composure in moments. I think that, you know, you look at Delap's red card and you look at Caicedo's red cards and you look at one or two others and they really are reckless. Now, Maresca's sort of red card for celebrating Esteval's winner against Liverpool, I hope he gets sent off every single time that we play, if that's what's going to happen, because we're going to be winning games, you know. And I love the passion and I love the fact that he let it out. And maybe you could argue that it was a lack of composure, but I think that was a real moment between him and the fans. We remember what Conte was like. We remember what Mourinho could be like and what other managers could be like on the touchlines, Vialli and managers from a bygone era like that. And I think that he really connected with the fans that day. So you could call it a lack of composure. I would say that it was just passion. And yeah, he did make them comments as well. Just going back, it's just that I saw the comment about what the guy said about Maresca. But I think on a whole, we kept the composure in the second half yesterday. I think they was very professional. I think they showed grit and determination. I think they used their experience. I think that people like, you know, your James and your Shadabers and your Enzo Fernandez were integral. You know, even though Fernandez is young, he is still somebody with the experience of being a World Cup winner.
And we had chances to win as well.
Yeah, we did have chances to win. It was a penalty.
What, the Chalobah on Gordon?
The Chalobah one is a penalty, in my opinion.
But I don't get that though, because like Chalobah's shoulder barged him, yeah, but he's just stronger than Gordon in that.
No, he's body barged him into the advertising holdings for me. He hasn't won the ball. It's over aggressive. It's over aggressive. Shoulder to shoulder is fine. That was like, when I look at it though, there's no like elbow. It's only shoulder though. It's the whole. I think it's a penalty. I do. I genuinely, at the time, I remember being a long way away. And again, I said this to Alex yesterday. My immediate reaction, having watched it from a long way away, was I turned around and said to everybody, he hasn't won the ball. And yeah, okay, so you don't necessarily have to win the ball to shield the ball. I just think it's a penalty. And it seems, I've only seen a little bit. I've watched a bit of Match of the Day, Sky Sports News.
I don't think it was a penalty, mate. I think, you know, I saw a thing. I saw there's a guy on Instagram who basically did like a reaction to it. I thought it was quite funny, but I did think he made a good point. He was like, if that is a stonewall penalty in modern day football, then the game is gone. The game is gone. You can't even touch people anymore. And I don't watch basketball, but I know like 1 or 2 rules
Yeah.
in basketball. And in basketball, if you get touched like a little bit, it's a
If
foul.
you get touched a little bit, then you just get a free throw.
I think
just
that's
think
complete. I
that's
don't
not
know
the
if
way
that's
you
the
want
same.
this game
I
to
don't know
go,
if that's
mate. That's not the
No,
way.
no, it's not.
And by the way, if it does get to that stage, and it could do in 10 years, whatever it is, because these things gradually they change one rule and we don't really talk about it much, and then they change another one. And then after 10 years, they've changed 10 rules, and you're thinking, what the fuck has happened? And at that point,
20 years ago, that
the
was a
games
penalty.
anymore because
20 years ago, that got given as a penalty more often than not. Even
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was because referees probably thought that there was much worse happening and they didn't have support from VAR, etc. I mean,
Also,
you've got to remember as well, I would say before VAR, players milked a penalty more than they do now. Now they actually know that the assistant can see what's happening.
Yeah.
Whereas before, as long as they went down and it looked bad, then the referee would give them the benefit of the doubt.
Also,
I think he's charged through him.
He hasn't charged through him, though. He hasn't.
I think he's just
he's not ran through him. He's ran into
him. I've seen him way more in the gym than Gordon. Like, he's a strong lad. So
yeah.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with being stronger and bullying and using your body. And this is what VAR said, right? They said that it was a body check. He used his feet to shield the ball when the ball was in the immediate vicinity, so he was shielding the ball, and that was their decision as to why they wouldn't overturn the on-field decision, right? Because the bar is higher for overturning the decision than it used to be.
I think it looks bad because, like, let's say Anthony Joshua was to shoulder barge me, I'd probably go flying. It's the same thing with Chalobah and Gordon. I think obviously there's a bit more like aggressiveness to the shoulder barge. Like, I can hear that, but they're both contesting for the same ball, and I don't think like Chalobah's put his foot across. Like, people were saying he's put his foot across. I think it's just a 50-50 and he just uses his body well. I don't know. I've seen it. I've seen those given at times and I've seen those not given.
I think the other way, we are all appealing for a penalty.
You think?
Yeah. Nah, I'll be honest, Warren. I'm not.
But I have to say as well.
Look, because he didn't even kick the guy. It's a shoulder barge.
I have to say
it's
as
body
well,
to body. That's literally the idea. That's what contesting for the ball is.
Exactly. I have to say though, in the first half though, for Walter Marder's second goal, I'm watching it on the TV and I'm like, why are they drawing the lines? I thought we had automated.
It's all automated down to a certain tolerance, and then if it's within a certain distance, they check it manually. So
why are they using the lines? He was clearly offside. Like, his shoulder was playing him off. No, I thought it was offside. When I'm watching it, I was like, clearly offside. And then they start drawing the lines, and I'm like, what? Why are you drawing the lines?
The people that came out with the people that invented the automated technology, it's a little bit like Hawkeye in cricket and in tennis.
Yeah.
They say that it's accurate to a certain tolerance. So let's say, and I don't know the numbers, this is completely just the default number for the point I'm making, I guess. So let's say that they can get it right within 6 inches. If it's anything less than that, the automated technology will tell the VAR people it's tighter than this distance. You have to check it yourself.
But surely they have the technology to do that, like in the Champions League, no?
Yeah, it's the same thing in the Champions League. If it's on or offside by less than a certain amount, the people in the VAR office will check it manually with their own lines.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you as well. Like, both of the goals that Newcastle scored, like, I give credit to Newcastle for the goals because they do the basics really well.
The right thing, didn't they?
Ball in, and then Walterman, that's where he thrives, right? Give him an opportunity. But I mean, the first goal, I thought we defended poorly. I got to criticize Chalobah for that one. I mean, he's getting the majority.
James giving the ball away before was the most important factor in that. I
mean, but again, your job is to defend, right? So a defender, yes, you can give the ball away, but it was Fofana who gave the ball away.
It was Fofana. Yeah, sorry, you're right. No, it was.
I mean, that's even worse then, because not to mention the fact that Fofana was probably responsible for the second goal in terms of not marking Walter. Or not, he did mark him, but he lost his man. He let him get in front of him.
Yeah.
And then the first goal, you got Chalobah who's literally falling all over the place. He looks like he's breakdancing for the second goal.
He was very exposed, to be fair.
And don't get me wrong, you're entitled to make mistakes. But I mean, considering the fact that we are happy with our defense in terms of the clean sheets we've been able to get. We've obviously been very complimentary of Fofana since he's come in. We all agree that Chalobah performs better when he has Fofana by his side, and then in this game, both of those players are responsible for the goals we're conceding. So I think that the conversation now, at least going into the coming games, is how are we going to manage our defense, especially knowing that within the space of a week we're going to be playing about three games, maybe just over a week. We've got Villa at home, Bournemouth at home, City away. Number one, Fofana's injury prone. And then we look at what Chalobah does when he doesn't play with Fofana. So are we playing different back lines in some of these games? Or maybe centre-back pairings is more relevant. If you're resting Fofana, are you resting Chalobah? Because Chalobah's getting run into the ground, in my opinion.
I don't think you can take both of them out during this period. I think one of them has to play.
But I mean, if you play Chalobah with Tosin, they both look just as useless as each other.
Yeah.
To be fair, last season
that's the thing, isn't it?
Last season, at the latter end of the season, I think there was a period where Chalobah and Tosin played together, and they were like capable, not like very capable.
Who were they
but they were
playing
capable
against, though, Thomas? Are we talking about Premier League sides here?
Yeah, Premier League
Right.
sides. Like, I remember the I think it was the run-in. They had like 2 or 3 games together, and they were doing well. Even like Tosin was good at the last like 7 games of the season, so he's shown that he's capable. But it's just, yeah, like he's probably not got a lot of confidence, and that's where that's that lack of squad depth and quality in the depth. Where if you take Fofana and Chalobah out, who do you put in? You put Tosin. You can put Badiashile. Like, I don't really know. You don't really want to be playing Hato at centre back because we saw against Karabag. That's it. I'm influenced by the carrier bag. Against Karabag, Hato just wasn't that good at centre back. Do you play Achampong there? I don't know. I prefer him at right back. I don't know. It's a tough one to call, but I don't think you can take both Fofana and Chalobah out.
No, I think with Tosin last season, you're right. He did have a period of time where he didn't stand out as bad as he has been this season, that's for sure. But I think part of that is because we're a more attacking team now. I do think we're a more attacking team. I do think that we try to be more attacking and more controlling of games, and I think that is prone to leaving us a little bit more exposed at the back. And I think that Tosin playing in a team that is not necessarily defensive, but maybe slightly more conservative than what you would consider an attacking team, I think that he would work well. You know, I think that he would work better at a Newcastle, for example, or, you know, so if he went to somewhere like Crystal Palace, I think that Tosin in a 3 with 2 wing backs around him, where he's never going to get exposed with the ball in behind and things like that. I think that a team like Crystal Palace, he would do absolute bits. I think that he would be a terrific player. I think that's why he was terrific at Fulham, because the expectation is lower and the game suits him. He's a defender and he's playing in a team that's relatively defensive. That's going to suit him. I think that we're more expansive this season, and I think that's where he gets caught out, and I think that's what he needs to improve on if he wants to be a Chelsea.
We saw against Liverpool as well when we won 2-1. I think Badiashile and Achampong played together for like 45 minutes. They were good together. I think Badiashile can be a good defender, and Achampong as well. But yeah, I think it's tough if you take both Fofana and Chalobah out, because if an injury to Chalobah, and it's not looking great, or to Fofana.
Yeah, I well, just on Tosin, who I thought was a good free signing, but we've moved past that.
You can't really go wrong if it's on a free, because
it's not a risk. That's the thing. It's not a risk.
It's a risk to results, though. It's not a risk financially. It's a risk to results.
Yes, but I think Tosin's good enough to sign on a free and justify it. You know, and then if you look at Buonanotte, I know that's a loan, but let's just imagine that was a free. Then you go, well, this is just a bit weird, really, because the guy never plays. Whereas at least Tosin was useful last season when we needed to rotate. I think Tosin's good against your Cardiffs, teams like that. So I'm not actively saying we should sell him, but I'll be honest. If you said which centre back do we sell, then I would say Tosin. And I think the ownership and the sporting directors would say the same thing, because he's profitable. and
You get
and
maybe,
I
how
want
much
to keep
do you get for him? Do you think you get like 50?
I think you get 30 mil for him.
30.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my
I think you
god!
get like
I
If
take
you
15,
send
mate.
him
I
to a
take
Premier League
15
club,
mil.
no, if you send him to a Premier League club to
15
Premier
mil,
League
mate.
club,
Nobody's paying 30 million.
Premier to Premier is always
his
inflated.
age as well. He's like 28 now. I think you take
Is he
15
28?
mil and you go away.
I'll take 15 mil. There's 15 mil of profit, mate.
I bet we get 25.
Let's not overreach here. Tosin
25
has been absolute dog this season.
I mean, we could try a Brighton and try and get like 30
Listen,
mil
a Brighton or a Palace or a Bournemouth would come in and pay 25.
They're not paying 30 million for Tosin, mate. They're not
I
doing
think
it.
they are. I think they will.
They want to sell Tosin. They don't want to buy Tosin.
You get
They're not doing that.
when it's clear that you want to sell a person, it's quite hard to raise that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Right, let's talk about Garnacho, guys. Let's talk about Garnacho now. I'll start off with you, Warren, because you had some interesting things to say after the match, and we were talking about the amount of shots that the team had, and how many shots would we have had on goal if it wasn't for Garnacho, and then obviously looking at the conversion of those chances. I mean, not all of them were shots either. That's where people are frustrated.
Yeah, I think that's the two sides of it, right? And I don't know the exact stats around it. I think I meant like you said, I mentioned to you after the game that you said that he had sort of like 5 or 6 opportunities, and like where's the end product, which is ultimately the only thing that matters, really. But without him, we wouldn't have had many shots on goal, and it would have seemed like it wouldn't have seemed as good of a performance, because it wouldn't have kept Newcastle under the cosh. It wouldn't have kept them under pressure. The fact that we had a constant threat, I think, contributed to the way that Newcastle had to play against us. I think that Garnacho is a really useful outlet, and he had a bad game. The truth is, he had a bad game. He had no end product, and he gave the ball away. And he had a really poor performance, and he's had many of them for Chelsea. I'm not defending his performance, but he was a very important part of our team yesterday because of the profile of winger he is. He brings people into the game, and he's not. Do you know what I quite liked? He's not frightened to take the ball on and have a shot. He's not frightened to try and beat him.
He's a shot volume winger.
Yeah, he lost the ball yesterday, and he worked hard to try and get it back. It didn't work for him, and the next time he got the ball, he tried to beat his man again. Now, he needs to improve massively. Everybody that criticizes him are criticizing him, and I think they're correct. His end product isn't good enough. He's not getting enough goals. He's not getting enough assists. He's not bringing other players into the game enough. But when you say
he's not bringing other players into the game, I think that Garnacho is constantly involved, and I think that he is involving other players.
It's always an option, but it's the quality when he finds them, or when he doesn't find them.
Because we never see Neto doing what Garnacho does. We never see Gittins do what he does. Even Estevao, to an extent, more involved and more. But it always seems like Garnacho has more chances, even than Estevao. Does that make sense? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
he gets into
very
the right
direct,
position.
better, but
he's very direct,
constantly in the area to make something happen.
Yeah,
and it's like this. I don't know. Come on, Alex. Think of an analogy. You're a single man. If you stay at home every night, you're probably not going to get on the pool. But if you're in a nightclub every weekend, then you might have a chance. And that's Garnacho. He might be standing in the corner in the nightclub, not speaking to anyone on his phone, but he's there. The question is, when are we going to see some end product, some conversion? Now, we saw that against Cardiff. We did see that. He went home with 2 Welsh girls in Cardiff. All right, 2 Welsh ladies.
He can speak to all,
but he doesn't like the Geordies.
He can speak to all.
He's not a fan of the accent. Maybe he can't understand it.
He can speak to all the girls, but it's just about whether he can actually produce some game.
We need some game, Garnacho. Come on, mate.
Exactly. There was a chance as well to go 3-2 up, where I think he shot with his right foot instead of taking it on the outside and shooting across goal. Because he always gets into the right position as well. But yeah,
I think it will come. I think that Garnacho is one of them ones that I don't think it will be fair to assess him until the end of the season. You know, he came in later in the transfer window than a lot of other players did. He came under a cloud, and then, you know, it hasn't completely worked for him, obviously, in his early days. But I don't think that we can. I don't think we can make an assessment of him until the end of the season, to be honest with you. But yeah, just to finalise that point, really, Alex, that he needs to be better with his end product. But I liked the outlet that he was, and he very much allowed us to keep the pressure on Newcastle just by driving into the box and forcing them back. He did. He
defensively as well.
Works hard. He was good. Works hard.
Yeah. People don't seem to appreciate that about Garnacho. By the way, I will say this: I think he can work harder. He's definitely not like Neto, but no. I mean, he does track back.
He does. He does. You're right. He's not quite like Neto.
There's a few sprints where I think you could have run for that, but you know, positionally speaking, he's not compromising us.
No, he's not. And he's a constant outlet. He's always in the right position to receive the ball, and he tries to do the right thing. It's just not working for him in a minute.
Hey, smash the like button if you haven't already, guys. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't smashed the like button, please do. It makes a big difference. We've got over about 250 people on all platforms, so big up to everyone that is watching. If you're on YouTube as well, let's smash that like button. Let's get up to 70 likes on YouTube. If you're on X as well, retweet, like, it all helps. It all makes a difference. We appreciate any support nonetheless, and it just means that when we do more shows, then more people will be able to jump on and they'll see what we're doing. Thomas, I know you've got to wrap up, mate. You got to go. Go on, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say I can go in like 2-3 minutes. What are you talking about? Is it like a long-winded? What's the next topic?
Long-winded? We're not long-winded. We just we offer a truly insightful and fully detailed analysis.
Is it a long-winded topic? Like, is it something that you can talk about for a long time?
What's the next? What can we talk about for a short period of time?
What's a 3
You haven't really said whether, Tommy, said whether you think it was a good point or not yesterday. What do you think?
Yeah, go on then.
I think it is a very good point considering the circumstances that we were in at 2-0 down. I think we did very well. We fought back, like you were saying before, under Poch and stuff. I just don't think that we would have been able to do that, to reverse the match. So I think we did very well. I thought we fought very well, and I'm very happy with the way that we've shown our intensity in second halves, because first halves we've just been struggling like this season to perform well and to put in all the energy. So I think it was a very good point. Like I was saying before, taking a point at St. James's Park is it's a good result at the end of the day. So obviously we had chances to win, which would have been way sweeter. But going to these sorts of grounds and getting a point is good. But it's just the fact that we conceded 2 goals like that in the first half sort of shows our vulnerability a bit, which is it's a shame that we still have that in us, because those are the sort of things that I just wish we could eradicate from our first half performances, like that vulnerability, being under a lot of pressure and being able to withstand that pressure. I think is what we need to improve on, riding that wave, like we were saying. So I think it's a good point, but it would have been better to just eradicate that first half performance, and maybe just going into halftime with a 0-0, it leaves the game like way more up for the grabs for us. So
go on then, Thomas, off you go, mate. You got a brunch to get to.
Yeah, thank you very much, lads.
Hey, thanks for coming on, mate.
Nice one, Tommy.
It's a European brunch at 1:30.
European brunch?
When it's 2:30 in Europe.
But both my parents are French, so we always have lunch and dinner like so late. We have dinner at like 9:30, lunch at like 2:30.
Is it?
Yeah.
And that's the French. So what time do you go to bed?
Like midnight. For school, I would say like midnight. If I'm on holiday, like 1 probably. But it depends though, because
you speak French then?
Yeah,
obviously you speak French.
Yeah,
of course he does.
Oui.
But
Oui, oui.
my first passport was French, but I was born here. Just been raised in Chelsea my whole life. So, yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thank you
well,
very
big up
much,
to you,
lads.
Thomas.
Yeah. See you
And
soon.
we'll see you very soon, mate.
Yes.
Nice one,
see you,
Thomas. Have a
lads.
good Christmas, mate. Up the Chelsea.
Right, come on then. Me and you, my friend. Me and you, Warren.
Indeed. I'm going to get a little bit of air on my head.
I'm with you on
That was
that.
air, not hair. That was air, not hair.
Right, we're going to go for 10 more minutes, guys, and then we're going to wrap it up because speak of the devil, I've got my mum and my grandma coming over. So
Nice.
I've got
Sunday
to
roast.
host. It is a pie, chicken and leek pie that I've obviously made myself. Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
And
he made the packaging around it and everything.
Yeah. I would say didn't even pay for it. Fair fucking hell. I got nothing. Absolutely nothing. Big up to Rachel.
Nice one. Obviously, it tis the season to be with the family.
Yeah. So where did we finish off, Warren? I mean, we've spoken about the defense. We talked about Sanchez, Joao Pedro, Palmer, Garnacho.
I suppose that I'm looking forward to the potential of Esteval and Delap returning against Villa. I think that they're going to be important players for us. I think that Maresca, in the second half of the season, if Esteval continues on the trajectory that he's on, I think that we're going to see Esteval a lot more. I know that he's drip feeding him and he's taking care of him. And I think that he's done very well managing him to a point. I think that he could have had more minutes in certain games and started certain games and stuff. But I can understand why he hasn't. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that Delap is important to the way that we want to play. I think that if you, like I said yesterday, there was lots of times when the wingers weren't inverting enough for the long ball from Sanchez. So even if they was winning the ball, there wasn't anybody to link the play up for the second ball, contest the second ball and stuff. It was quite easy for Newcastle to deal with. So I think Delap will help with that. And yeah, I'm feeling positive at the minute. If somebody would have said to me that we'd have had the dip in form that we've had and had the injuries and the red cards that we've had to deal with and one or two other like bits and pieces throughout the season, if somebody said to me that we was sort of, like top four and not that far off the top of the league and would have performed really well against like the supposed title challengers like your Liverpools and your Arsenals and other teams that are likely to be up there. Newcastle, obviously, we've gone to Tottenham and won and stuff like that, obviously. But we went to Tottenham and won, and I would have taken where we're at because I do think it's progress. Last season, we was challenging to be in the top four. Now we're challenging to stay in the top four. So I do feel like there's a progression.
You know what they say? It's harder to. I know we're not at the top, so don't take it literally. But they say it's hard to stay at the top than to reach the top. And I would say that's probably the same with top four. It's harder to stay there than it is to get there.
That's why there's only been three teams
last season.
That's why there's only been 3 teams that have ever retained the Premier League. That's why in its modern format, i.e. the Champions League, only one team has ever retained it. And, it's very true what they say. I think that teams have found that out in the past. I think that Man City, before Pep came in, they had, I think Pellegrini won it, Mancini won it. Did they have one other manager who won it? Was it Pellegrini, Mancini? Did they have one other manager who won it before Pep, or was it just Pep after that? But either way, none of them retained the title because, like you said there, everybody wants to beat the better teams. And Chelsea, sort of modern historically in the last sort of 20, 25 years, have been one of, if not the team to beat. And I think I think that point still stands. I think that when we go to Bournemouth fans and as a club are more up for it than if they was welcoming Watford. Do you know what I mean? I think they are going to be more up for it. It is one of their, not cup finals, but it's one of their bigger games of the season. When they go to Stamford Bridge and win, that's something that they talk about for years. That'll be memories that people have got. I remember Bournemouth beat us it's about 2015, 2016. I think they beat us 1-0 under Mourinho. Glenn Murray scored. I was in the Matthew Harding that day. And there'll be fans that went to that game and they was like, I was there the first time we won at Stamford Bridge. So I take your point. We are still a bigger club. People are going to be really up for it. And it is hard to make progress. It's very difficult not to stand still. If you look at certain teams that have stood still, even you look at Liverpool, they kind of stood still last season and they're suffering it this season. Ironically,
Well, Liverpool were definitely not the best team that have ever won a title. That's for sure. I mean, they had a lot of games where you could see vulnerabilities, but nobody was able to really take advantage of. I mean, it's not that they were bad. Obviously, they were great, but if you had another team in there that were of a relatively similar standard, then they'd have been fine. But I think that Arsenal this season, I'm going to be very intrigued to see how they get on in the next 2 months or whatever, because they've just been plodding along getting results, but they're not doing that well. They're not playing amazing football.
That's the scary part, though, right?
What, that they're still able to win?
That they're still top.
I mean, that just makes you think that if we had a top centre-back, if we had a better striker, arguably another winger as well, let's just say those 3 positions, then we would absolutely be in a serious title conversation. Not just the conversation, because we've been in the conversation this season, but we'd be in the conversation, actually, we think Chelsea can win. Not that we can compete, that we can win.
Yeah.
And this season, it's been, right, we can compete for it. I mean, I don't know how many points we are. We're about 10 points behind Arsenal as it stands. Yeah, 10 points. Okay. Now, things can change very, very quickly.
That's too much. 10 points is too much at this point.
I think things can change very quickly. You know, it's not like we're not having this conversation in March. If Arsenal have a couple of bad games and we have a couple of good games, then it's all for grabs. But yeah, I mean, you've obviously got to take it with a pinch of salt that we can go and win it. I've never believed that we're going to win it, but I've always believed that we can be in the conversation. And for me, once you go over 10 points, fair enough. But as long as you're within sort of 3 games, 9 points basically, then
if we was within 3 games, if we was 7 points behind with 3 games to go, that would mark genuine progress. I don't think that constitutes it. See, this is where I think people get confused between a successful season and success. And I think this goes back to what Arsene Wenger said years and years and years and years ago. He said that I've qualified for the Champions League 18 years in a row. Now, that's like a successful season because you're getting into the Champions League next year, the finances, the opportunities it means to bring in players commercially, globally, all this kind of stuff. But it's not a successful season for a big club. Finishing in the top 4 is not a successful season. What made our season successful last season was the fact we won a trophy as well. Even if it was the lesser of the 3 European trophies and we was massive favourites to win it, and it would have been a little bit embarrassing if we didn't win it in the end. That's what made it a successful season, because we won a trophy. So I want progress this season, and I'd love to win another trophy. I think that's the only way I'll see it as an actual success.
Yeah, for me, progress would still be a trophy. It just has to be a domestic one. Or obviously, I'm not going to say no to a Champions League.
Yeah, we can have 3 of them. Why not?
I'll take that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Carabao or FA Cup and top 4. And for me, we are on a good track. And we're proving that we can not only win, but we can continue to win trophies. Which, as we just alluded to earlier, winning them in successful seasons is not easy. We guys are delusional. We ain't winning no titles with these owners and players. We just won 2 titles, so sorry about that, but that's just a fact. That's not delusion. That's the reality. So maybe you need to come out of cuckoo land and look at the cabinet, look at the trophy cabinet. Now, nobody's defending Clearlake here, but progression is progression. And if you're getting better, then you can't say that we've regressed. Now, if we're talking about Thomas Tuchel, I've seen a lot of that chat in the comments, then fine.
Thomas Tuchel.
Totally different.
Well, the
director, different ownership, different expectation, totally different heritage.
I don't rate Tuchel.
And now, what?
I didn't rate Tuchel.
You didn't rate Tuchel?
No.
What?
Took a very good Frank Lampard team and won the Champions League, and then slowly broke it to pieces, selling off every single one of our academy players and completely changing the whole identity of everything, to the point that he got sacked because he wasn't doing a good enough job.
You know that's not why he got sacked.
Well, I don't think he was doing a good enough job.
Why do you think he got sacked?
I don't know. Why do you think he got sacked?
Politics.
Maybe, but I think that could be said, that that's also true of Conte and Mourinho. Different
No,
ownership.
Mourinho was sacked because of results. Conte was sacked because
The first time Mourinho was sacked. Mourinho got sacked in September the first time.
No, Mourinho got sacked because he didn't win Chelsea a Champions League. Conte got sacked because we finished outside the top 4. And to be honest with you, he was becoming a bit grumpy, wasn't he? Tuchel was sacked because he didn't want to have meetings with the owners every 10 minutes. And he didn't want to work hand in hand with sporting directors. He openly said the reason he loved working for Abramovich was because Abramovich left him to it and let him just get on with his job. And that's the total opposite, that's a polar opposite of what Clearlake are like, who want to micromanage everything. So, no, I mean, I'm really surprised that you didn't hate Tuchel.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I never. I thought that he took over a team that Lampard had built. I didn't like the way that Lampard left. I didn't like the way that whole situation was handled. Without going into it too much, I'll just say that it was during COVID. We was playing Luton at the weekend in the FA Cup. Chelsea fans asked for permission to have a flag commissioned in the shed end for that weekend's game, which they spent a lot of money on, which was like, we're with Frank, basically, or in support, we're all with you, Super Frank, or something to that effect. They allowed them to spend all the money, put the thing up. We won the game, then they sacked him on the Monday morning. So they was always going to sack him irrelevant of the result. And so I was very disappointed with the way that he left anyway. So I suppose that maybe has something to do with it. But I just think that we regressed. I think as a team, we regressed under Tuchel. I also didn't like the whole team. I thought the whole team was broken up. I loved that it was Mason Mount and Reece James and Tammy and Tomori and Loftus-Cheek. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I didn't even care that we wasn't as good. Like, literally, honestly, I promise you, that season under Lampard, like the first season under Lampard.
I enjoyed the first season. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I didn't
enjoy the second one.
I loved that. No, do you know what? I did. I enjoyed it, just seeing all the academy players out there. I really did. I suppose because I'm so lucky. I am one of the luckiest Chelsea fans in the world, because I got to fall in love with my club before they was good. And you know, I love that. I love that. And then to have this period of success with like 5 Premier League titles, 2 Europa Leagues, a Conference League, 2 Champions Leagues, FA Cups, League Cups, World Club Championships, beating Tottenham up and down the park every single week, beating Arsenal every week for 10, 15 years, being better than everybody else and being the envy of everyone. I was so happy that if Chelsea would have like borderline folded and screwed up FFP and went to League One, I would have still been the happiest man in the world. And then to see all these academy players coming through, it was like all my dreams were coming true. I'd seen us do everything I could possibly imagine and a million times more. Got to see the best players in the world, people like Hazard and Drogba, and there's too many names to name. And then to see all these academy boys coming through who had loved the club from such a young age, like myself and you and so many other people have. It was just amazing that if we had a bad result and we ended up finishing 6th that season or 7th or 8th, I didn't care that much. I actually really didn't. And I felt like Tuchel just took that all away. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm doing a man a disservice.
It's a different. You're looking at the sort of spiritual. I don't know. Maybe not spiritual, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah, spiritual, I guess, and then even cultural. But I mean, Tuchel brought in a winning culture, mate. That's the truth. He brought in a winning culture, and we can't deny that. And even if you look at, I mean, we got to an FA Cup final. Was it 2 FA Cup finals? 2 FA Cup finals, 2 Carabao Cup finals.
He was robbed by Leicester.
I mean, Tuchel, honestly, can you imagine if we would have won those finals? He would have gone down as arguably, in a short stint of football, one of the greatest managers the Premier League has ever seen if we would have won those finals. Can you imagine? Club World Cup, Super Cup, Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, same again the next year. And then obviously winning the Community Shield. Like, that would have been legendary. But listen, it's over now. I'm not going to lie to you, Warren. We're going to have to wrap it up, mate. But I really appreciate you coming on.
No, not at all. Thank you for having me on as always. I really appreciate it. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your assistance with the tickets for like me and my group this weekend for yesterday's game. I was very appreciative of it, and I think that Chelsea gave me a Christmas point yesterday. So I'm at home now, and I still have a smile on my face.
Hey, there you go. Well, big up to you, Warren, and big up to everyone that's been watching as well. Really appreciate if you've been
Merry
watching
Christmas,
the whole
everyone.
show. Yes, Merry Christmas. And if you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. And we will be back with another episode of this show after is it the Bournemouth game? Yeah, the Bournemouth game. And then the same after Villa as well. So all the best, guys, and we will catch up very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of